Jai Gange. Wonderful to have you all here today. It is an honor and a blessing to be here with such divine souls. Before we begin, I thought we would just take a minute to settle in. Just maybe closing the eyes for a minute, grounding the feet to the ground, and just taking a few breaths to connect ourselves, to connect to ourselves and to connect to each other. And just bringing a stillness and silence in our minds and our bodies so that we can fully partake of this beautiful information that will come our way. Just beginning to scan the body from the tips of the toes all the way up, moving from your toes to your heels, to your ankles, to your calves, to your knees, to your thighs, moving to the base of the spine and slowly moving all the way up. Moving from your fingers, wrists, shoulders, elbows, neck. Moving to the chin, the lips, the nose, the eyes, and the forehead. And just taking a few long, slow breaths. Breathing in from the nose. And breathing out slowly through the nose. Inhaling deeply. And exhaling slowly and completely. And last breath, let's breathe in deeply. And breathe out completely. Now gently, if you'd like, you can rub your palms together and place them on the base of your eyes just for a moment. Just for a moment. And slowly bringing the hands down. And I think we are now all ready to begin. Thank you, everyone, and welcome to this beautiful session on spiritual healing, transformation beyond the physical. Now, why is this session so important? Why is this session so important? All of us have met people in our lives, the very young, healthy people who, for no reason at all, got cancer and quickly passed away. We've all also known stories of people who have been diagnosed with terminal diseases, and within months they have miraculous recovery. We have heard stories from both sides, and we all wonder why, right? We all wonder why. Why does this happen? And Western medicine doesn't fully answer these questions, right? We're beginning to notice holes in Western medicine. And that is when, often when, no answers can be found in Western science, that people turn to holistic medicine, to this particular field, right? And more in today's time, we're beginning to understand the importance of alternative medicine, holistic medicine, call you what you may. So in today's session, we're going to try and answer some of these questions. The first two questions the first two examples that I brought across. Why do these things happen? What is the answer to things beyond the physical body, right? And we have amazing, amazing speakers here with us today. And they're all going to be giving their perspective, and we are going to have questions from the audience. So please have some questions ready. So with me, we first begin with Gurmukh Kaur Khalsa. She is a wonderful Kundalini yoga teacher, renowned all over the world. She's been teaching and training hundreds and hundreds of teachers. So really, so much healing in her lifetime. Thank you. Dr. Reverend Beckwith, I've seen him so often on Oprah. on the Ellen show, so many shows, and now having him sitting here right with us, what an honor and what a pleasure. An author of some amazing books, Living Vision. Please check all of them out. Our very own Sadhvi Bhagawati. Thank you. She needs no introduction, but definitely if you want her full life story, which is amazing, please grab her book in detail. It's right outside from Hollywood to the Himalayas. Definitely grab it and get it signed. Abuelo Antonio Oxte. And I just learned that Abuelo means grandfather. And this is very interesting, is a shaman, from many generations, and he is from Mexico where he lives, really in a small village. So what an honor to have him here, full of love, full of love and energy. If you just spend 2 minutes with him, you will feel it, you will feel it. Dr. Smita Naram, I had the pleasure of attending her session yesterday, and really what an amazing way of transmitting information. She's the founder of the Ayush Shakti. Please find it online. Dr. Raghavan Kutty, he has been honored with the highest award in Ayurveda. So he really is, the Vede Ratnam, the jewel of the crown in terms of Ayurveda. So definitely please have a word with him. Really looking forward to meeting him, and thank you. So, without further ado, we're going to launch into our keynote address by Sadhvi Bhagawati. Okay. Perfect. Dr. Sharda is his wife and protege, and also works along with Dr. Raghavan. Thank you. Thank you. Great. So, without further ado, we launch into our keynote address by Sadhvi ji. So handing the mic over to you, and then we're going to move into Q&A. And also, please keep your questions ready. We plan to have a lot of audience interaction in this session.
Will you do me a favor? We don't have a clock. Can you set your can I use this? What an honor and incredible blessing it is to be together with these beings here on the banks of Mother Ganga. These beings of light, of love, of wisdom, of that touch that we've been talking about. The teachings, yes, of course. But they're teachings you can get online from anywhere in the world. But to have them here with us, giving that touch and that actual transformation is such an extraordinary blessing, and to be together with all of you. So today, as we talk about healing, it's so important to look at what do we even mean by healing. Most of us, as Ira was talking about, we think about it typically from a physical standpoint. There is an illness, there is an ailment, there is a problem. Then that illness or ailment is no longer there, and it seems like healing has taken place. But is there something deeper? In English, the word for health, the root of that word for health is actually the same root as the word for wholeness, which I love because it makes us remember that health is not just an absence of a fever or a virus or a bacteria or a fungus or an infection in some way. Health is something much bigger than that. It's an experience of actual wholeness. Now, as we're talking here today about beyond the physical, we know, if you didn't know it, you wouldn't be here. You know the role of our minds, what we think, what we feel, what we believe on our physical health. Some of my favorite research studies are on that. I'm not going to go into all of that here, but there's so much great research showing the intersection between a belief we have, a thought we have, a feeling we have, and our physical health. One of my favorite ways of thinking about this is more than 50% of people who have a limb amputated continue to experience what we call phantom limb pain, meaning they have pain in a limb that no longer exists. And as awful as it is for all of them, I love it as a fact from that spiritual, physical, mind-body experience, because most of us think our pain is in the body. What hurts? My knee, my back, my ankle, my head, my stomach. But now you imagine, I no longer have this arm. It's actually been cut off at the shoulder. It's gone. But I keep having pain in it. What hurts? My arm. Where is that pain? Where does that pain exist? Now, sadly, when most of us talk about it's in your mind, we say that in a way that kind of denigrates what people are feeling and belittles it. Oh, it's just in your mind. As though it's illusory, as though it's not really there, as though it's just something that you've made up and you should get over it. No. Yeah, it's in the mind. And the mind is so extraordinarily powerful that it actually creates the experience that we have. So it's not just in your mind. It's that power of the mind that permeates every cell of the physical body, that permeates the energetic world around us. Now, a lot of us have situations, and this was certainly my case, where on a physical level there isn't anything that's that wrong. No diagnosable disease that you walk into a doctor and they do a series of tests and they say, oh, you've got this. None of that. And yet, we live in a state, an experience of dis-ease. There's food in our stomach. There's a roof over our heads. We don't have some kind of vitamin or mineral imbalance. There isn't an infection in our bodies. And yet, there is a state of dis-ease. We wake up in the morning not exuberant for the day. We try to go to sleep at night. Sleep doesn't come, or it comes in fits. What is that? So we're going to be talking about this element of spirituality. Now, when we talk about spirituality, it's important to realize we don't mean just something that exists in books or religious traditions or prayers in different languages. Spirituality means literally of the spirit, of that which is unchanging within us, of that which is not the body, whether it's ravaged by disease or not ravaged by disease, that which is not of the body, that which is not of its history, that is not of its size or its shape or its color or its story. And I want to share a personal story of this because I was suffering. I was ailing in a way that I know so many of you and so many around the world are, which is that state of dis-ease. Nothing a doctor is going to take my blood on and say, oh, here's what's wrong with you. But something that was preventing me from actually being able to live. in joy, in truth, in that wholeness of health. The details of all of it are not that important. It was, I had been through in my childhood quite severe, in addition to lots of blessings, lots of privilege, lots of opportunity, beautiful family, beautiful education, beautiful all of that. In addition to that, I had been through quite severe abuse, trauma, conflict, struggles. I had carried that with me into my adolescence and early 20s in the way that so many of us do, where we are looking for a way out of the box that the present moment seems to present itself in. We identify with the story of what has happened to us. I've been abused, abandoned, betrayed, lied to, cheated, harmed in some way. That's the story we carry with us. I was actually back in America in January briefly, and on the road, I saw on the back of a bus in Los Angeles this huge banner advertisement, and then I ended up seeing it later on billboards and stuff while I was there. Huge banner advertisement for some law firm. And their website was whohurtyou.com. True story, not a joke. Whohurtyou.com. And I thought, wow. This is the reflection of how and why so many of us suffer, because this is how we identify, how I was hurt. We've all got our stories. I was carrying mine. And I did what so many of us do, which is we realize this box I'm in the present moment is not where I want to be. But without access to spirituality, without access to deeper teachings, we turn to alcohol, to drugs, to food, to sex, to Facebook, to whatever it may be, to pull us out of that moment. And that's why I always say addiction is actually a spiritual quest gone awry. It's a very true, very real, very powerful, very right knowing within you that says, this story I'm telling myself, this dis-ease of the moment is not how I am supposed to be living. This is not the truth of who I am. I need something else. But when we turn just to those substances, as anyone who's ever struggled with addiction knows, it doesn't actually work. All it does is numb us. But it doesn't transform anything. It doesn't change anything, and it ends up pulling us farther away from our truth. But when we don't have an option, that's where we go. And for me, at the age of 25, when I came to India with a backpack on what I thought was just an adventure trip, whole other story, I won't go into all of that now, but I had thought it was just a semester off of my PhD program, and I get here. And after having this extraordinarily powerful spiritual experience, standing on the banks of Ganga that just was as though a veil was pulled off of not only my eyes, but every way of knowing that I had. Suddenly I found myself in the presence of the divine. I had spent my life not trusting. I didn't trust God. I didn't trust the universe. I didn't trust myself. And if you wanted to know why, I had a really good story of why I couldn't trust. Here's what's happened to me. And so I didn't trust. I felt incredibly separate from. If you had said everything is grace, I would have said to you, I'm sure that's true, but I'm the exception to that. Like, that's really nice for everybody else. Too bad it isn't true over here. And suddenly I had that experience just spontaneously. standing on the banks of Ganga, of an experience of the presence of the divine that was everywhere as everything, in me as me. I was not separate from it. And that transformed me in that moment. And then, fast forwarding, about a week later, I had met Puja Swamiji, who you've all had the opportunity to have his darshan and to be in satsang with on the first day. And I asked him about fear. And he said to me, "You fear because you don't trust." All right. And I gave him my story. Here's why I don't trust. Here's what's happened to me. And it was a story that up until that moment, everyone had always said, "Oh, you poor thing, you poor thing. It's amazing, my God, you graduated from Stanford. My God, you're getting a PhD. My God, you're succeeding." Like, that was above and beyond what I should even expect of myself. God forbid anyone should expect anything higher. Swamiji looks at me and he says, "Are you going to take that to the grave?" I was 25. I said, "God, no, of course not." He said, "So are you going to let it go on your deathbed? How about a week before you die? Maybe a month before you die?" And I said, "God, no, Swamiji. I'm in process. I'm in process, right?" Those of us from the West know it's all about, it's process. There's a process. And I'm in process. And eventually I will recover. I will heal. I will be okay. And he looked at me and he said, "You're waiting for someone to draw the line. You're waiting for someone else to come in and tell you you can be done. You can be free." He said, "No one will. You can either carry it to your grave, to your deathbed, to a week before you die, or you can let it go tonight." And I was like, "Tonight?" And he said, "Yeah, we have this beautiful ceremony called the Arati, and after the Arati, I want you to go and stand in Mother Ganga. Hold her waters in your hands and offer into that water all of your pain, all of your anger. And then I want you to offer the water back into Ganga." It's incredibly embarrassing to admit 26 years later the level of arrogance and skepticism and cynicism and close-mindedness that I had at that time. But in the spirit of full transparency, I spent the rest of the afternoon thinking, right, I'm just going to offer this to a river and it's going to be gone. All of the pain from the abuse, the addictions I'm struggling with, I'll just give it to a river. And finally, somewhere around late afternoon, early evening, I had a moment that I'll always be incredibly grateful for, which was a moment of deep humility and deep sincerity in which I said, all right, I know it's not going to work. Obviously, it's not going to work. And yet, because it was offered to me by a being of such reverence, I at least need to show up sincerely. I must stop mocking this. I must stop bringing my own story into it, and at least try it sincerely. And to make a really long and beautiful story really short, it worked. It actually worked. And that was 26 and a half years ago. And I share this with you today because that which so many of us are struggling with, that we hold in our bodies, that is the stress that is harming our bodies and our minds and our hearts has to do with stories we tell ourselves about who we are based on that which has happened to us, based on that which we're struggling with, based on how we identify. And you're here in a land of liberation and freedom. I never thought freedom was possible. It never occurred to me. I had learned to manage most of my life. I thought that was the highest it gets. Everybody I knew was managing their lives in some way, better or worse. The idea that one could actually be free, that this wouldn't hang over my head, was inconceivable to me. And I want to tell you it's possible. And not only is it possible, but you can make it happen. Not only have I seen it in my life, but I've seen it in the lives of so many. And if you've been brought here, something has brought you here, look out at Mother Ganga and say, thank you for bringing you here. And then take an opportunity while you are here to let go of whatever you can that is creating that dis-ease in you. I want to stop here because we have such extraordinary, amazing luminaries to hear from. And it's such a blessing to be able to have you come here and to have you all come to the banks of Mother Ganga, where all of your healing is possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Sadhvi, for that really, really wonderful, wonderful snapshot of your own personal journey. And there's a lot more detail in that, actually. If you want to get into really what happened, definitely grab her book. It's beautiful. And I think I've been feeling a little bit, I've not been able to take a Ganga dip so far. I'm like, it's going to be cold, but definitely after this, we should all go take 3 dips in the Ganga, right? 3 dips in the Ganga. All right, so now I have a question for all of you. How many of you have prayed? How many of you have prayed? Just raise your hand. How many have offered a prayer? And how many times has your prayer failed? How many times have you asked for something in prayer and it didn't happen? Right? Right? Yeah, many hands. So I want to talk a little bit about prayer, right? Perhaps the most simple spiritual practice, and how the power of prayer can help with healing. And what is the process of prayer? Reverend, I'd like to hear from you about this. And anyone else who has any thoughts on this, just please grab the mic so we can make this as interactive as possible.
Thank you very much. Once again, I'm honored and grateful to be here in front of all of you. And another unpaid plug, if you want to go to the depth of what she talked about, definitely get her book, because she scratched through the surface, and most of what she said was under the tongue and not over the tongue. When we think about, and I appreciate what she said about health, meaning this comes from the same root as wholeness. And when we deal with prayer, prayer is to me, is moving into a state of realization of that intrinsic wholeness. It's not begging or beseeching a reluctant deity to give you something. It is coming into an expanded awareness of what you already are and the intrinsic wholeness that you are, exist, and you start to have a realization about that. So many people are asking for something, but they're receiving not, because they're asking from a vibrational place of not having. And so true prayer is not trying to convince God of anything. Fortunately, we can't convince God of anything. Fortunately, you cannot influence God, because the presence of God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. It doesn't change. It's always, God is always being itself totally and completely. God is love. God is all of the sacred qualities that we hear about. We're seeking in prayer to come into alignment with that. So when I think about healing, I think about the three modes of healing. There's natural, there's supernatural, and there's spiritual. Natural, we have Ayurvedic, we have herbology, we have all kinds of wonderful ways that we can begin to allow our body temple to detox that which is inhibiting wholeness from taking place and fortifying the system. There's supernatural, which is the extension of the senses. You have Reiki, you have hands-on healing, you have Qigong, you have a number of supernatural extension of the senses. And then you have spiritual healing, which is a recognition of the intrinsic wholeness, where an individual catches the perfect spiritual idea of an individual and is able to vibrate on that frequency and act like a vibrational tuning fork until the other person vibrates on the same level. I remember I had the privilege of facilitating what was called a synthesis dialogues with His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and I was the facilitator. I was not participating, I was facilitating the conversation. And he invited mystics and teachers and scientists to this gathering. And one of the mystics started talking about prayer, and His Holiness said, I don't believe in prayer, like that. And there was a silence in the room. Nobody spoke. So I said, excuse me, I have to take off my facilitator hat for just a moment and participate in this conversation. And I said to His Holiness, when I say prayer, I'm not talking about begging. I'm talking about having a realization of what's so. And he said, Buddhism. That's Buddhism. And anyway, the conversation then unfolded in a very powerful way. I'm not going to keep going on, but prayer is powerful when we are coming into alignment with the perfect idea of ourselves. And oftentimes, I think it's interesting to note that in America, 6 out of 10 people have a chronic disease. America is more sick than healthy. That's recent statistics. 6 out of 10 has at least one chronic disease. So there's something in the atmosphere around stress, fear, doubt, worry, toxicity, electromagnetic toxicity, the soil being inert, not full of vitamins and minerals and things of that particular nature, and the constant bombardment of what next great thing to be afraid of. And so I think being here in a yoga festival where we're seeking to have a conscious union with the presence of the divine, we are detoxing the stress. And then as Sadhviji has said and others have said during the course of our time together, allowing ourselves to be so transformed by the renewing of our mind, which is a set of programs, by the way, that we go back differently. And even we go back into the milieu of the Western world, we're in this frequency, we're in this vibration, which is a very prayerful, meditative, yogic frequency. I'll stop there, yeah.
Thank you so much, Reverend. That was beautiful. And just taking off from what you were saying, I want to come now to Dr. Raghavan about disease. Dr. Raghavan has cured very, very serious diseases through the power of Ayurveda. Diseases that you would not normally think. And in fact, his speciality is really dealing with serious and chronic disease through Ayurveda. So doctor, I just want for you to speak a little bit about the work that you do and how perhaps what I would personally love to know, and I'm sure everyone would too, how can we use Ayurveda to help with healing in a simple way in our day-to-day lives?
Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha, Ajnana Timirantasya, Jnananjana Salagaya, Chakshurun Milidam, Ena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Dear friends, Ayurveda is the oldest science of healing. is part of Veda. Veda means simple knowledge. It is not a religious text at all. It is a fountainhead of knowledge, dharma moolam and jnana moolam. The same sukta will have both the meaning. And the jnana moola, that part is knowledge. That knowledge includes science and technology also. So, one example I can tell you, the Purusha Sukta, the very well-known Sukta, is present in 2 Vedas. That Purusha Sukta is a formula for electricity generation. Already it is in the market. That is Dharma Mula. So Ayurveda comes under Jnana Mula, the root of knowledge, science and technology. So the knowledge of Veda, it is experiential intuition, not in the laboratory. Please understand that. It is not trial and error. The Western historians say it is trial and error. No. It is experiential intuition. When Chabana Maharshi got aging process advancing, he developed Chavanaprash. There was no laboratory there. So the universal knowledge is there. That is, it is approachable to us. We can address that, find out that. That's the prana. Yonda prabhishya mamavajami mam prasupta samjivayat akhila shakti saraswadamna anyam cha hasta jarana shravanattvagadi pranan namo bhagavade purushaya dubhyam. This is the prana. Absolute knowledge is there. It expresses that. For that, yoga is required. Yoga is the bridging force to bring it out. The knowledge is there, ever existing and never fading. When you approaches that, it shows you. It opens you. When that quest of knowledge and Veshana comes, knowledge that will come out. Ajnanena avrutam jnanam tena mukhyanti jandavaha. Our knowledge is within us. Everything is in you. But it comes out. It is being masked by ignorance. Then envelope of ignorance, the wheel of ignorance is removed. This jnana expresses itself. Ajnanena avrutam jnanam tena mukhyanti jandavaha. We are in a mohavastha, unconscious, we are stupor. We don't feel that, it is there. The prana exposes that. Yonda pravishya mamavachami mam prasupta. It makes it expressive. That prana is to be tamed. That is pranayama. Prana means ever new. It becomes never old. That pranayama, prana and Brahma, all these, both are interchangeably used. Actually, it cannot be changed. It cannot be differentiated, one and the same. Prana is everything. That's why yoga, pranayama is very, very, very important. This is the most important part of yoga. That is bridging force from the Hatha Yoga to Raja Yoga. That is realization. It is the evolution of making man to Superman. Yoga is that process. It's a conscious process of evolution. It's a conscious process of evolution. You can evolve yourself. You can transcend death. You can transform the world. These possibilities, you may be knowing that. Those who are knowing about Patanjali Yoga Sutra, these things are clearly stated. These are not some imagination. These are facts. we can experience that. So, pranayama, you know what is prana? One sentence. Yes. Life force. What is that? 1 second. You take, breathe, inhalation. All, take, breathe. Keep in kumbhaka. Keep it there. A point of time, you are compelled to breathe. That is prana. The compelling force to breathe. This is under kumbhakam. We do the bahya kumbhaka also. You exhale completely. Hold it like that. There also same thing happens. You are compelled to breathe. The compelling force is a life force. The caveman, our the old grandfathers in the cave, they differentiated this from the dead body and a living body. The absence of breath. First finding is that. Even now, the whole universe is rotating around prana. Prana sadhana is pranayama, and the pranayama will take you to pratyahara, dharana, dhyana and samadhi. This is the basic stepping stone. It is andak sadhana and bahir sadhana. You can see and you can feel also. So that's the most important part of yoga sadhana. That will reveal everything. That can be used, that force can be used for healing. No substance is required. If you reach that state, prana can be manipulated. If you are hungry, without food I can make you satiated. Only that much I can do. By training, you can acquire more and more things. That requires abhyasa. Abhyasena siddham. Every day you have to continuous, repeatedly do the same thing. You can attain that. It's quite possible.
Thank you so much, Doctor. That was a beautiful explanation. And I want to just bring in Gurmukh ji here. So I have done a few Kundalini yoga classes in my life, a few. And I always thought, you know, these crazy exercises and this breathing, you know, what is going on? You know, what is going on here? And those of you who may have experienced Kundalini yoga, today when we were doing the class on the Ghat, people were just watching and saying, what's going on here, you know? But I remember one particular Kundalini yoga class I did. I hadn't slept the whole night for whatever reason. And after I did that Kundalini class, every single ounce of fatigue left my body. And I was so energetic through the day that I didn't even need to eat or even have my cup of coffee. And that was certainly a state of heightened prana. So Gurmukh ji, I'd love to hear from you about your thoughts, you know, on what Doctor said and about this experience, and also through the kind of healing. And I've met so many people who've had immense healing through Kundalini yoga. So just your thoughts.
Well, I don't really have a lot of thoughts. Because I've been doing Kundalini yoga for 54 years, and still at 80 people ask me what it is, and I still reply, I really don't know. I can turn you to scientists and to doctors and to all the research that Harvard and everyone has done connecting all of that stuff together. I only know how I feel doing it every day. And I just have to say I feel good. So I just offer it up for people to try it and see how they feel. And see if dis-ease lessens. One funny story, this one lady, she came years ago, one of our centers in the world, and she says, I'm coming because my husband irritates me so much. I just don't know what to do. I want to get a divorce. I want him just to shut up. I don't like his sound current. Everything he says is so stupid. What to do? And I said, well, try some classes. Don't try to get him to change. You just take some classes. So maybe a couple weeks, 3 or 4 weeks went by, and she came up and she said, you know, I feel so much better. And said, and your husband? He hasn't changed at all. But he doesn't bother me anymore. For me, Kundalini Yoga is the proof of the pudding. Just do it, see how you feel. If it fits you, if you feel better, then, you know, keep doing it.
And that was certainly my experience with Kundalini Yoga. You know, after some apprehension, I did it. Just the fountain of energy. That was fantastic. Thank you so much. And now, Abuelo, coming to you, we hear so much about shamans. You know, what do shamans do? And what is the work of a shaman? We would love to know.
Hello. It's good to feel you, to watch you. Our sister, she's asking what shamans does. And the first aspect that I remember when I close my eyes, it is when I was a kid at home. But in that time, who really was with the kids were the grandmother and the grandfather. My grandmother, she was a healer. She was healing all the population of the town, the Mayan town. And of course, the first son or the first daughter in the family, he or she was elected by the grandmother and the grandfather to learn with them how to go to the farm to know the soil. At 5 o'clock in the morning every day to wait the sunrise. Have a little ceremony, personal ceremony, receiving the impact of the new world, the new life, the new song, because we are new every day, like the song. The song, it looks like it's the same song than yesterday, ta-ta-ta. No, every day, and the teaching of my family, my grandfather, my grandmother, is that we need to be like the song. Every moment when we wake up, the first thought that we have to remember is thanks. I am opening my eyes, but they are not my eyes. They are windows to recognize where I am right now. So through that, we start to understand where we are. We are in the garden, in the heaven. So it's necessary to follow the animals that are surrounding us. For example, the birds. Immediately that they feel the first ray of sunrise, all together in the jungle start to sing. That means the bird singing is my soul that is really happy to be here, giving glory to the creation, to God. That's the old way, like our families were teaching us, to be in gratitude in the life. So, of course, children, we have no norms, we have no rules. We run into the jungle alone, 5 years, 6 years. We don't know about afraid or fears, because since we are small, our relative, our family teach us to respect the spirit of the place where we are. So we never talk aloud. In the moment when we go into the jungle, and we don't use perfumes, but we need to be clean. So it's necessary to take a cold shower before you go out of your house. After that, we don't have to eat nothing, but we go to play in the jungle. So we are happy because the birds come to us and they teach how they feed the children of them, the squirrels, the deers, and all the animals of the jungle are masters to live in peace and harmony. So that's that we learn since we are kids, the two shamans, because our elders give us initiations. Meanwhile, we are growing. At the 7 years old, we received the first baptism. 7 months old, we received the first baptisms, where our fathers give a name depending the hour, the week, the month, and the year, and the moon position with the constellation to know more or less the destiny of the kid. Depending on the talent, we receive the guidance. Not everyone has to be shaman. And of course, exist different kind of shamans. There are priests, there are agricultors, there are fishers, there are hunters, there are artists, but all of us, we receive love. It was in the very old times. Now everything is changing, and now the cities are closing to the communities, and all this, for me, amazing life, how we were understanding ourselves and our environment, we are losing very fast. I hope that here never happened this, because in this college, in the sacred coach, I am detecting, I am perceiving that they are practicing that we had in that time. So when you have 7 years old, the child decide the name that is going to use. But the father, the mother is the only one that knows that name. Nobody knows that name. So we are carrying in secret the vibration of our name. So nobody can make some kind of witch or something like that, because you have a key protecting your sacred body, your sacred 7 bodies. So nobody can affect you. That is one of the teachers of our elders, to live freedom, run in the life, and sharing peace and happiness and love. And of course, depending of your age, you are going to be receiving different names, and depending of this force of you to learn, because we need to study a lot. So after that, we were never going to the school because all the family were our teachers. Now change. We are forgetting very fast all the tools to respect the others, because in the school they teach A, B, C, but they forget to teach moral and ethic. And of course, children now are not the same than in the past, that we were respecting the spirits, because after 7 years old, our elders, our relatives start to teach us that we are one more spirit living together, different kind of spirits. But me, I am a kind of horn. How do you say where you cook the meals? Horn? Dove?
The oven.
The oven. We are a kind of oven, and like everything in this world, start with the Trinity vibration to be in balance. In the matter, in the motion, and the soul, we need to be transparent. We need to be coherent with my thoughts, my feelings, and my actions. So our elders never leave us to practice discrimination, to insult or offend a mayor, and of course, respecting themselves. Because between us, a child that has no education is showing that in that family, the ignorance of respect and love, it doesn't exist. So that's the way when we can see the difference between families. The children that has education are happy, everybody loves and take care about them, and the children that don't respect, we need time to help them. So this is the kind of knowledge that we have. And then we know that temperatures is the main key to know about your own health. It's, for example, when one person gets fever, is because that person in her or his mind start to feel some kind of discrimination, some kind of energies against somebody. It's not necessary to talk. You just feel. But we need to remember that our feelings is a real vibration. So if I'm watching somebody ugly or mad, that we are generating is going to come back to us. And this is the beginning of any disease, a mind that is out of balance. And a lot of information. But I know and I see that the same base that the Ayurvedic medicine, because we know that everything comes from Mother Earth, from water, from plants, from the air, and how we are accessing these elements and how this has to be in balance in our 3 parts of our body. Everything that comes from the feet until the genitals has to be with Mother Earth. So we need to put attention in how is our inner organs. Since the genitals to the heart is how I feel respect and love for myself and for all the life that is surrounding me. And from here to the head to up, how I am connecting with my own soul, the light of my spirit, and how I am reaching to share and expand this holy vibration of God in you to the rest of the creation. because we work for the planet. We are not working for ourselves. This is the new mission that we are doing, the elders from Mexico, and inviting to all the elders of the world to be oneness like here, because it's the only way to save our planet, to save humanity, and it is through delight life, enjoy life, and love the other one, and see that we are in the battle, because this life also is a battle. In the morning, we wake up, then at noon is another vibration of the day, where we need to keep silence at noon. Men to receive the blessings of the sun at noon. Some of us, we are naked, and we roll over the cesspit 9 times to the right, 9 times to the left.
You roll over what? You roll over what?
Over the grass. At noon, men. Mhm.
Just around now.
And
noon.
this is so amazing
Take off all your clothes.
because you get the health, you get the energy of Mother Earth, because she's waiting for us. We are children of she, but we are forgetting that she gives us the health. This is one. The other one is just sit for men and watch for seconds, because we can't watch the sun. But a few minutes after, we can feel how the light power of this mid-sun regenerate all our cells. Can be women also can do, but women has a very special time to energize the body, the mind, the feelings, and the spirit. And it's the 3 days of the full moon at 9 o'clock p.m. There is a personal ceremony where the flowers start to smell beauty and love, women.
So ladies, 9 p.m. first 3 days of the full moon, right?
And women needs to use water with petals of flowers, where they offer in an amazing prayer, singing for Mayan people. The name of the moon is U. So women start to sing. And suddenly you see the moon that is moving, the light, and you receive this. So women can know when is going to have the baby and what do you need to do to be in balance, because women are very sensitive. And is the only flower that changes 3 times in the day and the night. Like the moon phase are the energy of the women. So that's part of our knowledge. Mm-hmm.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank
Try to
you.
definitely find him and ask him, and spend a little bit of time just even sensing his beautiful energy. And now, finally, we're going to come to Dr. Smita before we open it up for questions. Doctor, I attended your class yesterday, and it was amazing some of the stories that you were telling. How recovery from trauma happened just through very simple practices, from the Marmot Point practice, and how this traumatic release and all this release just helped cure physical pain. And I know that you've done a lot of studies on this. You've done research and studies on the difference between just a physical practice and a spiritual. So I'd love for you to tell us all about some of the research work that you've done around this, and also if you have any other, from your vast experience, to share with us about this topic.
Absolutely. I believe that this body is a house of our soul. and how we keep our house, maintain it, keep it clean, keep it strong, so that it's energetically positive. And then we feel happy in that house. So there is a great physical and spiritual connection in soul and body, mind and emotions. So it is important that we keep this house of our soul always clean and always strong. Clean through the detoxes, strong using Rasayana programs. When that happens, the body is clean and clear, the soul can express a true quality, and that true quality is radiated into the physical being. And I will explain how. The soul is having a quality of Ajar, Amar, Aruj, which means there are many qualities, but I have taken only 3 for our discussion right now. So it is immortal, it cannot get diseased, and it is eternal. So when this physical body is clean, the mind is clean, emotions are cleaned and nourished, this quality of soul radiates through the mind, body and emotions, and naturally, without any need to do specific things, we feel anti-aging. We feel freedom from illness. So that's why it is very important that we have constant practices of spirituality, meditation, prayers. I just want to actually share a real research which we did in comparison to the people who took chronically ill people, who took diet, lifestyle, herbal formula, detox, etc. And the other group which did also the same thing, but they also had everyday meditative practices. So we have one doctor, we have many clinics across the world. One of them in Germany runs by a director of a hospital, KW Rotal. He is Dr. Christoph Garner. And he did this study, so I'm just going to repeat what he did. He took 20 MS, because this is a neurological hospital, so chronically ill 20 muscular dystrophy people who never had any practice in their life, spiritual, meditation, faith, nothing. And the other 20 group of people also suffering from multiple sclerosis. Some of them were devoted to Buddhism and practicing Buddhism. Some were Christians practicing Christianity daily, having a lot of faith and prayers every day. Some of them were devoted to Indian spiritual masters. It was a mixture of people, but completely having surrendered to the God and having prayer, meditation, pranayama is part of their life. And we did Panchakarma treatment. We have a team who does that. So both of them, for 3 weeks we did the treatment, and the group which was on prayer, meditation, etc. So they all suffered from vision loss, hyperactive bladder, inability to walk, numbness, many things. This group on the prayer and meditation had, you will not believe me, 100% more improvement. So if this had, say, 20-30% improvement in their symptoms, in 3 weeks, this group on meditation had 60% improvement in their symptoms. This is a real scientific proof that if you do prayer and meditation, the healing in physical body, mental and emotional body is tremendously accelerated, tremendously. And we are still in touch because he's a neurologist, doctor, he's in contact with all of them. In fact, the one which was on the prayer, which continued the prayer, etc., for years and years, the people in remission from MS in that group was 75% in comparison to 30% in the group which didn't follow the prayer and meditation. So that's kind of a proof that actually this is really working. I think it is remarkable,
Absolutely.
eye-opening research, I think.
Thank you so much, Doctor. That was wonderful. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. And now I would like to open it up for the audience. And so you can either ask a general question or you can target a specific question towards one of our speakers. So we have a question right over there. For the gentleman, we'll come and pass around the mic to you. And if you want to ask a question next, if you can raise your hand so we can pass around the mic on time.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. It's the best panel I ever seen it, you know.
Thank you.
I mean, we have people from all aspects of life. You know, it's the physical, spiritual, emotional, and Ayurvedic, you know. The question I have, whatever you all said, it works. I'm a living example of it, that it works. I started my journey 7 years ago. First thing I did was I took the toxic people out of my life. Second I started asana yoga. Then from asana yoga, I don't know how the spirituality came. You know, I started reading books. And that was the time when I was able to read Gita first time in 5 hours. And I was trying to read it for 60 years. It never happened, you know. And after that came Ayurveda when I became vegetarian and stopped drinking and eating meat. And it does really work. But my question is that you have to be in a state where it works. But now the thing is, how do we prepare ourselves to get to that state so that it works? Because most of us have a problem getting to that state. They know that it works, but they cannot do it. Could be one or the other, could be 100 reasons why they can't do it. They can't take the toxic people out of their life. They don't have time to do asanas. They don't have time for spirituality. Or they can't change their diet because that's what they've been eating all their life.
No, that's a beautiful question.
Yeah. And now so I need the tools, you know. If all of you can give me the tools because you are all from a different background.
Thank you so much. That was a beautiful question, and in my personal experience, very much the same. And just like Gurmukhji said, you have a problem, you do yoga. You're addicted to smoking, do yoga. You know, you want to deal with someone toxic, do yoga. And that practice will change you and transform you. But about the tools and the motivation, right? The biggest problem, how do we get ourselves on the mat every single day? And in between, there's going to be times in our life where that may not just happen. So for that, I'm going to pass this question on to Reverend, you know. Yes. You know, especially from your book, I feel like definitely, how do you get yourself motivated to show up every single day? Because you know these tools are going to work, but how do you show up for yourself?
How do you show up for yourself? First of all, humanity grows primarily 2 ways, pain or insight. You're either pushed by pain or you're pulled by a vision. So most people end up growing from suffering and pain, and it motivates them to ask questions that take them into their particular path. When you're on the path, you start to grow from insight, and insight is an event that takes place in consciousness. So the idea ultimately is whatever your spiritual technology is, it's integrated into your life the same way that your teeth brushing is integrated into your life, or taking a shower. It's like we have what is called it's like a contract, a social contract. We all say to ourselves, you know, we're not going to go out in public without taking a shower or a bath or this type of thing. We're not going to put our hands in a bowl of nuts without our hands being clean. So we want to motivate ourselves to take an inner shower. So we're not going to go out into the world dirty. We're not going to go out in the world clouded by limited perceptions and traumas. And so if we begin to think along those lines, we begin to develop habits that transcend the habits of fear and doubt and worry, and then they become integrated from a discipline to what I call a blisscipline. It starts out being discipline, I'm going to do this every day, and then we find that when we don't do it, we don't feel good. So then the discipline becomes a blisscipline. It pulls us, we must sit and our meditation. We must do our yoga practice. We must be around individuals who are speaking high visionary conversation or possibility. And ultimately, that's integrated into our life. And we become vibrational tuning forks for people around us. We either draw or drive. The spirit is not neutral. It drives people out or it draws people in. And then we find ourselves like you. Toxic people don't even want to be around you because they feel uncomfortable. And then people who are enthusiastic about their growth and unfoldment, they want to be in that frequency. I think that's where I'll stop.
I wanted to mention there comes a point you can have the most extraordinary, visionary, powerful, brilliant, motivational, inspirational words, you know. Our hands are full of these rocks and seashells. It's the metaphor for our sense of identity, who we are, how we move through the world, what I have, what I know. You get to the end of the beach, and there's a guy with a bucket full of diamonds, dumping them out to whoever will put out their hands for them. Are you going to say, oh, I'm so sorry, God, that's really a shame that I can't take any diamonds because I've got a handful of rocks and seashells? Because we recognize that what's being offered to us is of infinitely more value than what I'm holding on to. And this is that shift that happens in our spiritual practices. We get to a place where we realize that which I'm holding on to actually is the reason I cannot accept this grace that is pouring. And so we let go of it. Not because we had to get detached or through some very elaborate practice of Vairagya or this or that, but because intuitively we understand, I don't want this. Because this is blocking me from that which I've just had a taste of, and it's really so much better than what I was stuck with. And when you get to that place, that you're ready to let go of the story and the attachments and the excuses, then there's all the space to be able to bring in the change and the habits and the tools and the techniques and the gyan. But we have to be prepared to let go.
Thank you, Sadhviji. So we have time for one last question. All right? Yes, let's have Anika ask the question as a young spiritual seeker.
I have two questions. One question is, what is soul? And my second question is, can yoga help you calm yourself? And if yes, how?
What is soul?
What's the question?
What is soul? What is the soul? And can yoga help you calm yourself down?
I'll get the soul one to you.
No. Come on. I don't want to be the only one answering questions. Doctor, you start and I'll finish.
Oh my God. What is soul? Wow. Something that you can't see, but you can experience. Something that's in your heart. It's the God's little, I always say, little micro God in your heart is the soul. And the soul is something that is impacting the quality of how you think. If you think good about others, your behavior is good with others, is again the soul that you are born with. So it radiates to your physical, mental, and emotional quality. The soul is something that is pure, and it can be nurtured through the prayers and meditation, surrendering to the God, because it is part of God. I think now you can finish.
Very good. The way I feel about soul, first of all, we all got soul. So let me see if we speak to her at her language. I want to speak. Okay, we are soul. It's timeless, it's dimensionless. Some would say multi-dimension. It's timeless and multi-dimensional. So, and it's eternal. And it's forever and ever unfolding. It's always unfolding to reveal more of the essence of the eternal. So you are a beautiful soul shot from the mind heart of the infinite. And within you is everything that God is. Everything is all within your soul. And you're putting yourself in a position to allow all that you are to come forward. Your soul remembers every experience that you've had. Your soul remembers the infinite beauty and love and intelligence that you are. And as you are in this atmosphere with us, and you've asked this question, you've made yourself receptive to knowing yourself at a deeper and deeper level. So that the smile on your face is actually the smile emanating from your heart and your soul. It's what you are. And so at this moment, there are things that you know, that your soul knows, that on an intellectual level you might not know. But if you ask sincerely, then your soul will answer it. And you'll get intuitive hits, dreams, visions, inner knowings that you'll have, that it won't come from the figuring out mind. It'll come directly from your multidimensional, non-dimensional, eternal soul, of which is your real identity. You are a forever being unfolding. And when you do yoga, you become more in tune with that. And it calms the static in your surface mind so that you can see and hear the whisperings of your soul. Ooh.
And about the, can yoga make you calm?
I think so. What does everybody else here think? All you yogis? Yeah. Why, you're not calm?
One second, I'm getting it.
I really don't know. That's why I asked.
Do you do yoga?
Anika.
Anika's her name.
Do you do yoga now?
Yes.
Yes, you do?
And yes.
Good. I wish I knew when I was 9. I could have passed up a lot of
different experiences.
Yeah.
But it
Keep
imprinted
doing
your
it.
soul, and you allowed us samskaras to teach us in a very powerful way.
All right, to keep it short and simple, the soul, that is that thing, that which is for being here with us and for really giving your energy.
Same
to the
time
session.
tomorrow.
Same time tomorrow. You never know what you'll expect at the plenary session. Please do come. Thank you, all our speakers.
Tomorrow we'll be speaking about unity, breaking and dissolving borders and boundaries in our hearts, in our communities, in our world. And Reverend Michael will be giving the keynote address on that. It's a not to be missed plenary, same time, same place tomorrow.